Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the OCVarsity Gridiron Show. Welcome to the semifinal edition of our weekly football previews and prediction show. I'm Dan Albano with the OC Register, joined by my partner, Steve Fryer. Congratulations to all 15 teams from Orange County that are still alive, one victory away from playing in the championships. So a lot of congrats to some players and coaching staffs. But I'm also here, Steve, with a proposal for you early on our show. I picked a pretty big upset last week in forecasting Santa Margarita confidently to beat Sierra Canyon. And that is what the Eagles, in fact, did. Stunned a lot of people across Southern California. But I'm wondering if you'll maybe grant me a bonus point, as I'm trying to catch you in the standings. Maybe you'll grant me a bonus point because I got this big pick right.
Am I one ahead of you?
You are now 2 games ahead of me.
Wow, 2
here in the semifinals. I'm looking for some.
If I was 1 ahead of you, no, I wouldn't do it. But 2, yeah, go ahead, because that was a good pick. Sierra Canyon was 10-0, right, going into that game?
Yes.
But ringing in my ears is Coach Bruce Rollinson when they won some big game, and he said, "I'd like to thank the Trinity League," because the Trinity League got him ready.
Sure.
He used to call it the weekly wars. And then, Santa Margarita talked about, Coach Palmer talked about the fist fights they had been in the league.
Yeah.
In the Mission Viejo game, Centennial, etc.
Bishop
they were, it's a cliche to say battle tested. Phrases become cliches because people use them over and over again. People use them over and over again because they're true. They were ready to rock, man.
Yes. Well, I appreciate the generosity. I'm going to see what I can do to catch you here down the stretch. Mm-hmm. You have a 48-18 record for a 2-game lead over me. I'm at 46-20. So we press on. And for the big occasion of the semifinals, such an exciting week of the season, we're going to do 6 games this week. All these games coming up on this Friday. So we got to remember, Steve, it looks like more rain in the forecast, which means that teams have got to run the ball and maybe not pass so much. Running in the rain is probably looking like the way to go.
I remember, and I wish the heck I remember who said this, but somebody said, and when we're talking here, we'll talk about how teams didn't throw the ball much at all last Friday when it rained like heck. So let's get some rain Friday, but nothing like last Friday. I believe. I am no Dr. George Fishbeck or Johnny Mountain or Fritz Coleman, and nobody's even close to Dallas Reigns, Dan, when it comes to weather, and not even close to my man crush, Dallas Reigns. So somebody once said that you can throw the ball pretty good in the rain. Here's why: because the receiver knows when he's going to cut, when he's going to move. Defensive back doesn't know, so that actually gives the receiver a little more advantage than he would on a dry surface because he knows when he's going to move. The defensive back is really, catching up to that as a DB, as a corner, really hard to do. But then you got to talk about the quarterback. The ball's a little bit on the slick side. I forget what coach it was last week talking about. They were dipping footballs in detergent water, to get used to that slickness. I always think too, and I was talking to Coach Ray Fenton of Los Al about this. With me playing a little bit of, catching a football, was the dry days, the Santa Ana wind days, made that ball really weird, gave it a weird veneer, and made that ball kind of slide through too. Of course, I did, not playing with gloves, but man, the dry Santa Ana winds days also gave that ball some weird little lustery thing going to it, like a little, almost a wax finish like you put on a car, and it made it kind of hard for me to grab. Just me, I couldn't catch a football whether you handed it to me. So there you go.
Should be very interesting. I think that I saw some balls slip out of receivers' hands. Very sure-handed receivers. Ball just slipping out, making
balls flying up, footballs flying up in the air, and squirting all over the gosh darn field. Yeah, I seen a lot of it last week when I saw Los Al play really good against San Juan Hills.
All right, sir. Let's get right into it.
Yes.
Division 8.
Mhm.
Irvine 9-3 at Brea. Olinda also 9-3. So Steve, both these teams outside the top 25, but really solid programs.
Yeah.
Steve and I, we both do our top 40 votes. These guys are moving up, been pretty close ranking.
Yep.
I think, so these are very solid programs with championship histories, proud championship histories, in fact. And both teams have really good dual threat quarterbacks. Irvine, led by Sinna, who's a very good runner and emerging passer.
Yep.
Brea counters with Gavin Nicholson, who's coming off a very big rushing performance, 3 rushing touchdowns in the quarterfinals. The winner of this game takes on whoever emerges from the Palm Desert Beckman semifinal. That game will also be Friday night at Tustin High School. So could be interesting, of course, if Irvine and Beckman both advance. That's a pretty local final. But Brea is going to have a lot to say with that. Wildcats played up a little bit more this year, I think. I the Tribuco Hills game that they took on, played Cypress, a couple leagues ahead of them as well. Who do you have in this one, Steve?
Boy, it's a tough one for me, Dan. Sina Sefrizada, 0 for 1 throwing the ball. One time last week when they beat Quartz Hill up at Quartz Hill, where it's really cold this time of year, and he rushed for 80 yards in that win for them. And the Quartz Hill quarterback was 2 for 4. But Brea's pretty good. But I've always liked that Irvine team all year. Seen them pretty early in the season. Play Cypress, I think, at over at Handle Stadium at Western High. So, man, I got it. Coin flip game for me, but Irvine is my pick.
Yeah, I am also picking the Caros. I like that they're pretty battle tested for me coming out of the Iota League. That's where they
Good league.
Yeah, good league. And one of the scores that stands out to me, the 21-20 loss to Troy. We know how good Troy was. And the Caros also played El Toro tough. Only lost by 6 points, 31-25. And then they battled back, and they've been playing pretty good defense these last 3 games. Sonora, Temecula Valley, the shutout against Quartz Hill. But this is going to be a tough test against Brea. And I think Irvine also played maybe a little deceptively tough schedule. They got their opener when they opened with Northwood that they beat, and they lost to Portola, a little slow out of the gate, but a local rivalry game. But like I said, I think Brea played a good schedule too. But we're both picking the Carols. That's going to be a great game. I have had my eye on both these teams at the bottom of this Division 8 bracket, and fun Orange County games. There's a couple of those this week, including one game we're not going to preview, but Division 13, Saddleback and Woodbridge. That's a fun one too. All right, Steve, let's move on to Division 3. Edison, 7-5 versus Palos Verdes, 9-3. So got yourself a rematch here because earlier this season, Edison edged Palos Verdes 21-20 on a late blocked field goal. That was a very close game. And, if that wasn't enough of a storyline, both these teams, Steve, defending Southern Section champions. We know the Chargers won Division 3 last year en route to a state championship. And PV, we know that they came through, beat some OC teams, and they won Division 5 last year. So this is going to be a very good game. Edison's playing excellent defense right now. They've only allowed 26 points in 2 playoff wins. They held down Inglewood last week in the wind, but they're going to be dealing with a very good quarterback at Palos Verdes and Ryan Rakowski. So this should be an excellent game. Who do you have in this one, Steve?
Edison, man, I saw them when they beat Huntington Beach a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Quarterback Sam Thompson was excellent in that game. The Edmonds from Huntington Beach, one of the game, much heralded, and rightfully so. He's a heck of a guy, 6'5" and wonderful, wonderful player. But Sam Thompson was the better quarterback that day, more productive, and hit dudes all over the place. He was great. So yeah, I like Edison this game. I think their defense is doing fine. Really fine. And, Edison football, what can you say about Edison football? in November. You know, year after year, decade after decade. That pride of program over there at Edison is something special over there. Like Palos Verdes, you know, I like that group. You know, who's the coach over there, Dan?
Oh yes, Guy Gardner, one of the best
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. He came out of Orange County, did some wonderful work at Pacific, and I think Bolsa Grande perhaps for that. Really a heck of a good coach. So yeah, but I like Edison, and Jeff Grady's done a great job for them. You know, he's definitely a finalist for us for Coach of the Year last year and in previous every now and then. We always talk about Jeff Grady's Coach of the Year. Great coaching staff with Troy Thomas running the defense as well. Edison's my pick, Dan.
Yeah, this is a very tough game for me. You mentioned Guy Gardner, who also was at La Quinta.
La Quinta was. That's it.
Right.
Thank you.
Before he had a good run, but I think he's, you know, at Pacifica, and I think he might have been at some other spots.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a lot of, you know, respect for, you know, Coach Gardner, Palos Verdes. Sure. They got a really good quarterback. Like I mentioned, they're from a good league. So they play, you know, a lot of tough teams. And Edison, you know, I've been, you know, tracking them a little bit, you know, in recent weeks. I don't believe who'd been their leading running back. I don't think he's played recently.
Edmiston has not played. He did not play when I saw him against Huntington.
Yeah, so
that's really good defense at Palos Verdes, as you were saying. You know, they had two interceptions. They held Dana Hills to 40 yards rushing. Got 2 fumble recoveries in the 14-13 win over Dana. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, so they, you know, again, this is kind of typical Edison stuff that, you know, they get these hurdles in front of them. It seems like a lot lately, and they just seem to overcome them. Like, you know, so Sam Edmondson is out, but who they turn into at running back? It's guys like Maddox Thomas, who caught the winning touchdown on a screen late against Inglewood. Godinez is another running back.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got, you know, like you mentioned, Thompson. They just find a way, and then of course they're playing the great defense, well coached. So I think this is another very, very tough one, because I think, you know, Rakowski is one of the best, you know, QBs out there. And he's quite a playmaker, but Edison defense, hard to go against the Chargers. So I am also picking Edison, but I won't be surprised as PV wins it, but Edison is my pick.
Okay.
All right, Steve, let's see. Let's keep moving on to, Division 2, great division. We got both, Orange County's got both semifinalists. San Clemente, 8-4 at Leuzinger, 11-1. Who was the one loss the Olympians had this year, Steve?
The Olympians' one loss was to J. Sarah.
Yes.
39-35.
39-35 in San Juan Capistrano. I took it. That's why I took in that game, covered it. It was a fantastic game. So I know, pretty familiar with the Lou. They've been on my radar from last year when they beat Santa Margarita. That game was at Leuzinger. Here they are, the home team again. But San Clemente definitely finding its stride after losing to Mission Viejo. They've held their 2 playoff opponents to a combined 28 points. They've won 4 straight. Tritons have a nearly 1,000-yard rusher now in Carson Sloan. But, you know, as far as being built for the rain and run the ground, I think Leuzinger has that capability with a guy like Journey Tonga, who's a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah.
A couple sophomore quarterbacks to watch. Sophomore Russell Saconia is back for Leuzinger, and then Preston Beck is emerging for San Clemente. But I think it, you know, could be a ground game, a physical game. Leuzinger is very physical, but I think, you know, Tritons, you know, they've been obviously playing in Division 2, what they've been doing, beating LoSal and Edison, and before the playoffs, they're physical. Who do you got in this one, Steve?
Man, you know, this is a tough one, guy. Let me tell you. I know you're going to pick Leuzinger, but I'm going to go with San Clemente. I think you're picking Leuzinger, but I'm going with the Tritons over there. I think their defense played really well. They provided most of the scoring last week. Thomas Alexander returned an interception for a touchdown. Patrick Norman, nephew of Ocean View and Notre Dame great Todd Norman. Yeah, there's a couple of Patrick Norman. The other Norman over at Santa Hills, really good receiver. Both nephews of Todd Norman, who's a great player at Ocean View, great all-around athlete over there. Jason Rex returned an interception, 37 yards for a touchdown. I like the way that San Clemente defense is going, man. So I'm going with the Tritons, buddy.
Yes, I'm also picking San Clemente. They seem they are on fire right now.
Yeah.
I've been very impressed with them. This will be a very tough game. I think it's gonna be fantastic. Leuzinger is the real deal. They've been playing well in
Yeah.
the playoffs. They've beaten Crean Lutheran. They've beaten Chaparral.
Yeah. Beat Palos Verdes 40-14 to go 5-0 in the Bay League.
Yeah, good league.
Yeah.
So they're the real deal. They're at home. Couple of very proud public school teams. So this will be a fantastic game. All right. How about the other Division II semifinal? Are we gonna, we're gonna have an all alpha league final that Los Al will have to win at Murrieta Valley.
Yeah.
Another great game. 10-2 Griffins at Murrieta Falcons. Nighthawks 9-3. So Murrieta Valley, number 1 seed. And you were talking about the how some teams have really been running the ball. Last week, Murrieta Valley passed the ball only twice in a 26-6 win against Rancho Cucamonga. That's a Rancho Cucamonga team that put the thump down on Tustin in the first round, and Murrieta Valley takes them out. But Los Al has been very impressive as well. They got the balance with the two essentially 1,000-yard rushers in Ibarra and Tillis. Maybe the Griffins have a little bit more depth balance right now with Colin Creason playing really well for Los Al. He's been that surprise player that Coach Fenton forecasted.
Yes.
And then, of course, defensively, Ibarra leading the Griffins with over 100 total tackles, 3 interceptions. Who do you have in this one, Steve?
Murrieta Valley. They were my pick to win the division.
Okay.
When I did my predictions column, which was, looking at it now, man, I got to say, I am so proud of how horrible my picks were. It was pretty bad. A lot of them crash and burn. But Murrieta Valley, I picked them up at the beginning. I got to stick with them. Saw Los Al play last week. Superb. They were good at everything. Lenny Ibarra, 4 touchdowns, bunch of tackles. Guy's got some speed, when he gets around the corner. I hadn't seen him play yet this year. He's faster than I thought he was. And then I expected to see. And then their defense was really good. Jackson Ringer on the outside. A couple other dudes are really good on that team. Lenny Barr also got off a 41-yard punt.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's do it all, Lenny. And I thought they were good top to bottom, man. They played as good as, mistake-free. They only had 2 penalties in that game, a holding penalty and then a delay of game penalty, just, as a clock kill sort of thing at the end of the game, taking the knee, letting the clock go. That was it. But I think Murrieta Valley, that defense was really good. They were 20 up 20-0 at halftime over a really good Rancho Cucamonga team. They rushed for 236 yards in that game. Like you said, they only threw the ball twice. Like Murrieta Valley to get this one out, man. It's going to be a tough one for Los Al. As good as Los Al played last week, Murrieta Valley, I'm sticking with that one. All
right. I am going with the Griffins. I just think that I am glad you talked about the lack of penalties. That might be the biggest change for Los Al is how disciplined they play, how they have their system down with their up tempo. They run a lot of different creative stuff on offense, and they still don't commit many penalties. They're very sound defensively. I think especially if this is going to be a grounded out type game, I think that will help their back end. But I mean, man, Steve, 35-10 over San Juan Hills, 21-3 at halftime. That's a talented San Juan Hills team. And Los Al, just rushing for, it was a 267 yards. So I think the Griffins is going to be a tough one because Murrieta Valley, very physical. I saw them early in the season against Servite. And as Coach Reinhardt said of Servite, I mean, he said Murrieta Valley, they're kind of basically a Trinity League team. And with that kind of physicality and that kind of athletes. But I just think Los Al's kind of a team of destiny, and they're just explosive. When you can be playing Mission Viejo in that crazy game, scoring all those points against the Diablos, I think you got yourself an offense. And
for sure.
We differ on that one. All right. So speaking of some Trinity League teams, let's get to Division I here, Steve, to wrap it up. So we have the 2 surprise teams of last week hooking up in Division I. Friday, Orange Coast College. Mr. Fryer is going to be covering this game for the OC Register. You got Santa Margarita, 8-3, coming off that win against previously undefeated Sierra Canyon. And then Orange Lutheran, throws the biggest shocker, in my opinion, last week. That was the Lancers beating St. John Bosco, the number 1 seed in the first round. So Lancers 3-8 just because of their forfeits. Their record doesn't look so great, but so can Olu put another reversal out there again? Because earlier this season in the Trinity League, it was Santa Margarita beating Orange Lutheran 28-7, and that was the Eagles scoring in all 3 phases. I believe they had a defensive touchdown courtesy of a fumble recovery by Dash Fafita, no less. There was 2 touchdown runs by Trent Mosley, probably out of the Eagle Cat, the Wildcat as they that is known there at Santa Margarita. Trent Mosley doing the USC commit, doing a lot of his most dangerous work right now, running the ball. He can still is a good receiver, but he's getting to the end zone, rushing the ball this year. As he's has battled through some injuries, and I believe the Eagles also had a big special teams play. But man, I wonder what's like at Orange Lutheran this week, Steve, coming off a huge win against St. John Bosco. Reagan Toki played so clutch last week. Huge performance for him, junior quarterback. The defense with a pick 6. In the fourth quarter, that was a giant play. King Richard had that one. I got to get that young man's name right here. That was King Richard Johnson, 44-yard interception return in the fourth quarter, helped seal that win. Who do you have in this one, Steve?
Santa Margarita. After last week, man, something else. And you talk about teams of destiny and all that good stuff. Man, they got that odor around them, don't they? But get the ball to Trent Mosley somehow, somewhere. I've said a week after week, most dangerous player in Orange County. Get him the ball, and good things are going to happen.
Sure.
And the quarterback Trace Johnson threw a couple nice balls last week. I saw a little video of it, so pretty good stuff.
Yes.
But I'm going with the Eagles to get to the final.
Yeah, I like Santa Margarita for sure to get to the finals, and I really liked the post game interview with Coach Carson Palmer. He did one of the interviews he did last week. Did it with one of our colleagues, Tarek Fatal.
Yeah,
and when he heard the news about Olu's big upset against St. John Bosco, Carson, I thought he was very composed, very focused, almost cold. He didn't care who we played, where we played, confident in his team, and that's the kind of thing that you need this time of year. But on the flip side, shows the Eagles are confident. But Orange Lutheran, they did the same thing. The confidence they had lost 48-0 to Bosco in the previous round in the Trinity League, and were they focused and just cold-hearted and played their game up there at Bosco and forget about the noise? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I expect this to be a closer game than that Trinity League game, but I am also picking the Eagles to get to the Rose Bowl. That's where the Division I final will be played this year on Friday, November 28th at the Rose Bowl. Who will the Eagles be playing? If we were predicting it right, we were picking Santa Margarita to play somebody.
Right.
The other semi in Division I, Mater Dei 8-2 at Centennial Corona 10-1. Who was the Huskies one loss to, Steve?
Would it be Mater Dei, Dan?
It would be against Santa Margarita.
Yeah, I know. I covered that game.
Yes.
Overtime game.
Overtime.
It was a fun game, man, and it was an amazing game. They didn't have Trent Mosley in that game either, Dan, and they still won. They still beat him.
Yes.
Yeah. I was at that game at the at Orange Coast College. Fantastic stuff.
Yes, but as far as keeping track of these L's, is why I bring it up. Why it's a fun conversation, trivia this time of year, because Mater Dei did in fact lose. One of their 2 losses is to Centennial Corona in early September, and that was that was a game where the Mater Dei the Mater Dei Monarchs had 7 turnovers. Forced. The Huskies forced 7 turnovers,
yes,
and that's how they won that game. 43 to 36. And it was in Centennial Corona, which is a tough place to play.
Yeah.
Coach Logan does a great job. They have a good fan, excellent, one of the best fan bases around. 43-36. But I'm telling you, everybody knows. I think the Modern Day is, as far as the beat that they're the drum that's pushing them along. That beat is they're on a revenge tour and they're looking for payback for that 43-36 loss.
Yep.
I think I know Coach Laura after that loss. He was kind of saying that, hey, I think we might see the Huskies again. It's about getting better, and get ready for the playoffs. This is the journey we're at. We struggled today with the 7 turnovers. It's hard to beat a good team like Centennial when you do that kind of thing. They still had a shot at the end. There was a big jump ball with Caden Dixon Wyatt at the end of that game where Modern Day was driving in to try to maybe get a touchdown and really tighten things up even closer. The jump ball didn't go the Monarchs' way. Corona got yet another turnover and clutched up and won that huge win. But we know Modern Day, I think, has improved since that game mightily. They have some more reinforcements of guys that played, especially on defense, that weren't playing that game. So that will help them. And of course, Monarchs, a big thing besides the turnovers in that game, Steve, was they got to slow down the run a little bit more, and they definitely have to pass protect better for Ryan Hopkins if they are going to pass on a rainy Friday night. So we'll see how this game goes. But who do you have in this one?
I remember looking at your post on X/Twitter on that game, and your early things were, I've never seen Modern Day's defense get torn up like this. Yes. Early in the game, you're like 2 or 3 posts in a row. Like, this is like very unusual. Centennial's just working them. And I remember your comments, and I was thinking, God, what's going on over there? But the thing that flipped it all around, of course, was the 36-31 win at Bosco for Modern Day a 3 weeks ago. I think that changed my mind on Modern Day. When I saw them play, it was like a lot of individualism out there. It didn't have a team feel to it at all. And maybe that has come back, unless you get there and you can kind of smell it and see it. I really don't know. But certainly they're playing better, shutting down Mission Viejo 20-zip. Last week. That's pretty darn good. So I got Modern Day. It's hard to beat a good team twice. There's another cliche for everybody. 20-9, are hard to beat a good team twice, but I think they'll go out there to Centennial and get the W.
Yeah, that was, that going back to that September game, and you were talking about my comments on X. I mean, it was 33-7 at halftime, and Centennial, they ended up winning, and they got the job done in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
10 points. It was tied in the fourth quarter, but the Huskies came up with 10 points and clutched up, and they posted their first win against Modern Day since 2015. But, I think the Monarchs have come together, especially defensively and running the ball. They got multiple running backs that they showed against the Diablos, from Lewis and Leggett and Roby and even the freshmen. They got the backs. The O-line has come together for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They got playmakers if it's there, and then defensively they've really united. And I liked, speaking of post-game comments, I really liked the interview with Sean Scott. Talked about again, guys like Sean Scott talking about the brotherhood of that Modern Day team. Guys like CJ Lavender talking about the brotherhood. This has been a big theme. They're playing together with a lot of guys contributing. I think Modern Day gets the win, and I think at the Rose Bowl on that Friday we're going to have Modern Day Santa Margarita rematch for the Trinity League for the Division I title. How about that? And then, it will be for the Orange County championship as far as the rankings, the state berth, because Santa Margarita is ranked number 1 in Orange County, number 1 in Cal High in the state. The Monarchs do not like any of this. I understand. So they beat number 1 Mission Viejo. They beat St. John Bosco. They can't be happy with their rankings. Maybe they see we did lose to Santa Margarita. We got to go out and earn it. So they're on this journey They got to keep on keeping on. But
Yes.
how about that D1 final, Steve?
That would be pretty good, but there's still they still got some big opponents coming in there. Orange Lutheran's hot. Orange Lutheran is hot. Got to be feeling great about themselves. Centennial, they know how to beat Mater Dei. They've already done it. So there's a couple very big mountains to climb before they get to the Rose Bowl. We start talking about, oh, how did Carson do as a player when he played at the Rose Bowl, for SC back when, and so on. And how did he do when he was a player against Tustin in 1990, whatever it was, in the
1997.
Yeah, the
Sean
19,
Foster.
yeah, at Tustin High on a crazy, crazy day. So yeah, we'll be talking about that perhaps, but still got to beat Orange Lutheran, still got to beat Centennial.
First things first. So everybody enjoy this semifinals Friday. 15 Orange County teams playing here. We talked about a bunch, not everybody. Good luck to everybody, and be sure to join us back next week as we're talking about the championship games.
And may I say something, Dan?
Of course.
I'm gonna put my objectivity aside, and I'm gonna say, good luck to Saddleback High School.
Roadrunners and Woodbridge. Going to be a great game.
Should be fun.